Okay, before the battery died, I was talking about the direction of the reverse pitch selection, and how you only select the reverse pitch when setting up if your collective pitch is reversed, if you have a trailing blade control, like such as the Blade 300, some of the Blade products, and there's a few others as well that may have trailing edge control, or if the mechanics work in a way so that when the swash goes down, you're really applying positive pitch versus the standard when the swash goes up, you apply positive pitch. That's the only time you select the reverse pitch here on this part of the setup. Now then we move on here. What you need to do, this is where you level the swash and set zero pitch with the transmitter at center stick, such as, I hope it comes out good, but such as that. You set it zero pitch, level swash, center stick, and for servo 1 you hit this plus button, and you want to see the swash. Whenever you push this positive button, you want to see the servo arm raise up. If it goes down, you push this reverse button. Now, just because you push the reverse button, that's not only reversing this single servo, it is actually changing the way the three work together. And you need to keep pushing the reverse button until you hit the positive for each one of these and you see it go up, and the negative for each one you see it go down. Once you see that, to where they all move as they should, collectively up and down, then you set your swash level with your arms at 90 degrees and everything as it should be. And then you're set good. Okay, on the cyclic pitch, you want to set it to where when you're there again, where your stick is at zero, so that your blades are at zero pitch, and then you give full cyclic command. You want to get 10 degrees deflection on the main blades in all directions. That the 10 degrees is very key now with the new rescue. Okay, now then, the cyclic pitch, as I was saying, you want to set it so that you get the 10 degrees deflection whenever you give only cyclic command with the pitch set at zero pitch or your stick at zero center. And you raise or lower it until you achieve 10 degrees around your cyclic, and that helps achieve the it's especially critical for the rescue. Say you're somebody who's newer flying, you don't want to react so fast. Well, I'll show you in a little bit how to control that. But I would highly recommend setting it for the maximum of the wizard explains 8 to 10 degrees as the window of operation, which is what brain requires in order to get everything with the geometry, electrical and mechanical correct. But if you can achieve 10 degrees, that is the optimum setting to get the rescue to work and function properly. Now this here, just like before, you set your tail limits, you give a left command or right command on your stick, and then you adjust the negative or positive. That sets the endpoint of the servo after you've calibrated the radio. This one is also critical. You need to select which one of these describes your orientation of the way you've mounted your brain. Like I've mounted my mini BRAIN2 with the top up and the wires on the front side. So that's why I've selected top up, wires front. If you mount it on the side or underneath, upside down, what have you, you need to go through this list and find which one best describes your setup and select that one. That will dictate the way the servo or the way the sensors correct, both in regular flight modes and in self-level and rescue modes. It's very critical that this is set accordingly. Next, now we've changed up some things. It used to be based off of the older line, I guess, sizing chart or what have you. like where 450s were really 325 millimeter blades, 500s were really like 430 millimeter blades or so. Now we're basing it off of the distance, the length of the blades. Anything from a 180 millimeter to a 250 millimeter blade, you select this one. 300, select the next one. 325 to the more popular nowadays 380s, like the Goblins and the Protos 380, which I highly recommend. You select this one. The typical 500 size, you select 430 to 480, and so on and so forth. You know, if you're slinging 715s, 695, select the 700 to 800 range. That sets all your basic PID loops to a roundabout good starting point that typically works great for most all applications. You might have to tweak here or there a little bit in the PIDs in advanced typically the more advanced flyers are the ones who are going to recognize what needs to be done, whereas when you're first starting, these basic starting points will be great. Your skills will, as your skills progress, your tuning will also progress. You'll recognize it, what needs to be done, and you'll start trying things, and it'll help to learn the PIDs at that point. But in the beginning, the basic setups and the basic sizes is where it's at. You know, I flew them for a long time without, and even to this day, I still don't have to change, but very minimal, to get my max set to fly right the way I like it, or my mini protos, or back when I was flying the 700 nitros and 600 nitros, the basic default pre-comps and PID loops all worked really well. So now here's a new one, the Rescue. This is something we've been working on, all of us with the development team, very proud of this. The Rescue nowadays, it works so great, man. You could be cutting the grass and hit the trigger going Mach 1 across the ground, have blades, literally green stuff flying up, hit the Rescue, and it's going to save your heli if it is set up accordingly as it should be. And I mean, there are extenuating circumstances where mechanical failure or something such as that's not, it's gonna not be able to save those. But under just a complete dumb thumb, or you lose orientation and you don't want to hit the sticks to try to figure it out, instead you want to be safe and rescue it and then figure it out from there, works great. I set mine up on the on a momentary switch, and I don't know if you can hear my blades, they just jumped. It's just real quick, and you can see it flip down to the auxiliary channel. I prefer to leave my bank switches open, my bank flight controls, and as long as I hold it, it's going to stay in rescue mode. It's going to go for 0.6 seconds, and it's going to climb for that amount of time. It's going to first climb a little bit, so then it's going to flip over if it's inverted, and then finish climbing. Now, if you just bump the switch like that real quick, it's going to climb, but then it's going to give you your cyclic controls back. It's not intended to be just bumped, but they did it this way so that it wouldn't immediately just go back to whatever the stick command was, and in case somebody bumped it on accident and drove it into the ground. That's the reason for that, and it helps to keep the newer guys, or those who are less maybe inexperienced or just aren't comfortable, it gives them time to get to figure out where their stick command needs to be at, so that the helicopter just doesn't resume the original or go back to the command given from the transmitter. I really like the way it was on 2.0, but I also see the benefit for how it is now. And it's like anything else. MSH did the best they could to make customers happy, and after 2.0 there's a lot of customer feedback, and so that's why the changes are to where they are now, is trying to help to make the customer base happy. And I believe they've really come up with a good happy medium to make everybody happy and help. This specifically Rescue is intended for learning and helping the newer pilots to gain confidence, and I really believe they've done an excellent job with that. All you have to do is turn the auto level down here if you want to use the like I have it. change it from no channel for auto level to auto level on the aux channel. And then here in a minute I'll show you, when we go into advanced features, what you need to change and how to assign the channels inside the brain to channel 7 or 8. And then after that, it's up to you to assign the right channel in your radio. But the defaults work really well. You might have to change the level gain a little bit, depending on if you feel like it's not leveling off hard enough, I guess, or holding it constant enough. You can raise the gain a little bit. Just be careful. If you get too high, you'll start having shimmies, and it'll be you'll start noticing a nervous look, I guess how to say it. And if you have bearings or something going bad, that nervous look on top of vibration from bearings might be not so cool. So highly recommend just leaving these on the defaults, especially in the beginning. If it's climbing too much, too high for you, lower the rescue pitch duration so it doesn't climb near as much before giving you control back. But other than that, I would highly suggest leaving it on the defaults. Now we come over to the governor. Some cool things have changed. You still enter in your main gear ratio, but now, and your sensing divisor, depending on the motor you have, your speeds is typical. Everything else is still the same. But now we've added to where you also enter in your tail gear ratio. That's just your auto gear divided by your splines on your output shaft or on your tail drive. That comes up with the answer. Like on the maxes, it's 4.7666, and it helps the governor to react more accordingly, as it should. Down here, there's still a lot of people who I've noticed having issues with calibrating their castles. I've found to be bulletproof if you calibrate your radio back in step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, back on page 5 of the basic menu, 0 to 100. And right here at the bottom where it says minimum, this is default is 1000 and max is 2000. If you just enter in the values 1073 for minimum and 1960 for max, your castle will be calibrated perfect every time. And you can pull your castle logs to verify this. When you hit 1073, if you have the castle plugged in, you'll hear it arm. 1960, I would recommend spooling it up, maybe pop it up into a hover, 100% stick or 100% throttle, just for a few seconds. Download the log, and you'll see that it's seeing an input command of 1.9796 milliseconds, which is max 100% throttle for the castle when in multi-rotor mode or multi-rotor or airplane mode. That's a mouthful. Now, we come over here to the last and final stage. This is where you would select if you're a beginner, select beginner, sport, 3D. And what this does is it sets the flying style, like as to how fast it's going to roll and flip, and the amount of expo it's going to give you based off of what MSH has found to be a good starting point for beginners, sport, 3D, and hardcore. I personally choose the hardcore on all three of mine, and then I go into the advanced, and I might adjust how fast it flips and rolls and how fast it pirouettes to fit to my liking. Outside of that, there's not really much required. If the head is like not locked in, like it's porpoising or something, or doing, say you try to do a pitch pump, if the heli doesn't stay flat, if it has like a wavy look to the disc in the body of the helicopter, you simply raise up the cyclic gain some, try it again, go just a few points at a time until you're happy with it. And also, here's where you would select to use the governor, the brain governor or not. You would simply select the checkbox here, and it enables the governor. And from here, once you have this selected, now you check the helicopter by physically moving it to make sure the swash stays level no matter which, or tries to stay level no matter what direction you move it. That's verifying that the sensors are corrected in the proper direction. Also, when you swing the tail side to side, the pitch of the tail blade should go against the direction it's moving, as to try to blow the tail back in the opposite direction without giving any stick commands. I highly recommend that you do this process before every flight. It only takes 2 seconds. When you pick the heli up by the head, just simply shake it with your hand and watch the swash and make sure it tries to stay level. That's just verifying that your sensors are correcting in the proper direction. That's about it for the basic setup. Now I'm going to stop the video, and from here we're going to go to the advanced and to some of the new logging features that we've been working on and testing, and MSH has put a lot of time and effort into developing, and it's really groundbreaking. It sets us apart from the rest, I believe. So bear with me. I'll be right back momentarily.